What is up, everyone? Welcome back to even more Umineko. In the previous recording session, we wrapped up episode 3. I wasn't too fond of it. It had ups and downs, but ultimately that ending I did not enjoy. I didn't get around to finishing the tea party and question mark events, which is what we're going to do now. But can't say I'm looking forward to them all that much. I don't think they're going to really bring it around. Like with episode 2, I finished episode 2 and I was like indifferent about it. I didn't dislike episode 2, but I was like, okay, yeah, sure. But then it was the tea party and question mark event that really, solidified that as one of my favorites. Like that was awesome. Episode 3 I just really did not enjoy, so I can't imagine that the tea party and question mark events are going to change my opinion on that, but we're going to find out. So, of course, starting with tea party. I said click tea party. Episode 3. Let's see what we got.
まさか最後の最後でベルンカステル教の駒が乱入してくるとは。
あんたとのゲームにふさわしい駒を随分きっと気に入ってもらえると思うわ。
何よあの駒、誰よあいつ、何者よ。名乗らないなんてずるいわよ。ねえ、あんたもそう思うでしょ。
わらわは大体察しはついておるが。
Yeah, no, I'm not too stupid to not know who it was.
というか普通わかるであろう。
普通？わかんないわよ。初登場のキャラでしょ。名乗らなかったら私もプレイヤーもみんなわかんないわよね。
レアと教えてあげな
Don't tell. Love it.
面白い子でしょ。
ラムダデルタ教の天真爛漫にして天然なところは実に貴重で面白いものである。
何よなんで私にだけ教えてくれないのよ。意地よ。じゃあ私だけが気づいたとっておきの秘密を特別に教えてあげるわ。だから教えなさいよ。
ほう、とっておきの秘密とな。聞きたいぞ。
べーだ、教えてほしかったら先にあの女の正体を教えるのよ。私の知った秘密はすごいわよ。
I highly doubt it.
何しろサンタさんの正体が実はお父さんだったってくらいすごいんだから。
Wow. Yeah, that's such an amazing secret. You're really selling me on this.
あら言っちゃった。ごめんなさいね。天地がひっくり返るくらいびっくりしちゃったでしょ。
ラムダのとこにはお父さんが来てたの？
来てたのってどういう意味よ。
サンタクロース教は心の綺麗な子供のところしか訪れない。あんたのとこには来なかったのね。
まあサンタクロース教はよっぽどの大悪党でもない限りプレゼントを恵んでくださる。
I love these two just fucking with her.
わらわにもくれたくらいだからな。
成長して心がすさんでくると来なくなるのよ。レアタのとこにはいくつくらいまで来てたの
？12歳くらいまでは乙女心に目覚めると急にサンタ教が来るのがなんだか恥ずかしく
Don't
な
like
る。
that phrasing.
これまでありがとうございました。だから最後のプレゼントは奮発してくださいと手紙。ちょっぴり期待したのだがな。ベルンカステル教はいつくらいまで来ていたのか。
私結構早かったっけ。確か9歳頃ね。なんかあのヒゲが無性にムカついてちょん切ってやろうと
Wow,
布団の
okay,
中で
Jesus.
裁縫バサミ構えて待ってたの。痛いお年頃よね。
でラムダデルタ教には 物心ついてからサンタクロース教がおいでになったことがないと。普通は小学校高学年から中学校くらいまでの間までは来るものでは。
ある意味お医者で見てもらった方がいいわよ。早熟すぎると心身の成長に悪影響があるらしいから。ああ、確かに出てるわね、悪影響。
何の話をしてるのよ、あんたたちは。
魔女も3人集まれば実にかしましい。
この程度のレベルの秘密じゃ聞く価値もなさそうね。私もう行ってもいい？次のゲームの準備をしなくちゃならないから。
ちょっと待ちなさいよ。あの女の正体を教えなさいよ。
じゃああなたのとっておきの秘密を先に教えなさいよ。見合うものだったら教えてあげるわ。
いいわよ、教えてあげるわ。とっておきの秘密なんだから。ほら、今回のゲームで黄金を見つけて。
Yes, you were involved, weren't you? You were fucking involved, weren't you?
うん。あやつに一体どんな秘密があるというのか。
あの子の正体にね、みんなにはわかるかしら。ヒントはね、喋り方にあったのよ。ほら、あの子よく口にしてた。なんとかしちゃえば。そう、この語尾がポイントだったのよ。エヴァ
What?
エヴァ。そう、あいつの正体は後宮エヴァだったのよ。
Wow, thanks for telling us what we already knew, dipstick.
驚いちゃったかしら。
ほう、それは気づかなかった。そのようなところにヒントがあったとはな。
ベアトってその子増長するからほどほどになさいよ。じゃあね、私は席を外すわ。
You're really a good sport. Yeah, because of course fucking Beatrice knew. She's the one who fucking revealed it.
ちょっと私の秘密だけ聞いてあんたは喋んないなんてずるいのよ。
Nah, she said she'd only tell if your secret was worth it. Your secret ain't worth a shit.
あんたもあの女の正体を話しなさいよ。
あんたの秘密がすごすぎて釣り合わないわ。じゃあ代わりに私もとっておきの秘密を教えてあげ。日暮らしの泣く頃にってゲームの犯人の名前を教えてあげ。
Oh.
言わないで。
Nah.
私今プレイしてるとこなの。
じゃあね、ベアト。
I mean, that's some interesting self-promotion, but alright.
紅茶美味しかったわ。あとお茶菓子のクラッカーだけどジャムのレパートリーが足りないわ。たまにはコチュジャンでも用意しなさい。ロシアンティーにもぴったりだし。じゃあね。
そうか、わかった。試してみよう。次のゲームの準備が整ったら呼ぼうぜ。それまでゆっくり戦略でも練るがよ。
ええ、そうするわ。今回のゲームはなかなか面白かったわよ。
Interesting? Yeah. Sure, I guess that's a word you could use for it.
じゃあね。
ちょっと待ちなさいよ。教えなさいよ。
いやいや、本当にお二人は仲が良い。
ええ、そうよ。大好きよ、ベルン。愛してるとさえ言ってもいいわ。
Oh.
あの瞳をえぐり出して私以外を映さないようにしてやりたい。それは本当に素敵よね。
Oh.
紅茶に沈めても素敵かもしれない。
Ew.
ラムダデルタ教を国アラワも責任重大であるな。 しかし今回は実に惜しかった。あと一息でバトラーをコロリといけたもの。
ベアと一個聞いていい？
なんであるか。あの女の名前は教え。
いつまでチャラけてんのよ。あんた勝つ気あんの？
Oh! Oh, what's this song? Ho ho! Oh! Oh! Oh, we got another bang on our hands, do we? Oh! Oh! This isn't one we've heard before, is it? Can't be. I don't know. If there's like a straight banger, I almost immediately recognize it when it plays. This has gotta be something new, but goddamn, I'm loving it. Lambadelta threatened her with a low voice that she had never used in front of Burncastle. Completely blew away the calm atmosphere that had been there until a moment ago.
私はね、ベルンカステルに勝てる魔女ってことであんたに肩入れしてんのよ。あんたにベルンカステルに勝てる力がないってんなら、いつだって私はあんたなんか見捨てるんだからね。
これは手厳しい。わらわの何がご不満なのか、今日もご存知の通り、わらベルンカステル教には決して勝て。
そうよ。あんたのゲーム版はベルンカステルが100年はおろか1000年を費やそうとも絶対だから、私はそれを借りることの引き換えにあんたを私があんたの後見人をやめれば、あんたはすぐに人間に逆戻る。どんなにすごい魔力を持っていても、あんたはかりそめの魔女でしかないことを決して忘れないことを。
分かっておる。そなたには感謝している。
タメ口聞かないでよ。ベルンカステルがいるときは許すけど、いないときあんた最近私の恩を忘れてるでしょ。
Interesting.
そんなことはあり
やっぱ気持ち悪いわ。いつもの喋り方でいい。でも口の聞き方には注意してよ。私案外短気よ。話を戻すわ。あんたのゲーム版は実ベルンカステルを容易に任すことができるでしょ。しかしあの子は簡単に屈服しない。何度でも挑んでくるわ。
問題はない。ラムダデルタ教のお墨付きではないか。わらわのゲーム版は完璧。
そうよ。完璧よ。プレイヤーであるあんたも完璧ならね。
それはどういう意
Ooh.
味か。
Yeah, the game board's perfect, but do you know how to actually take advantage of it?
どういう意味？私が聞きたいくらいよ。あんたのゲームには遊びが多い。それは時にベルンカステルを煙に巻くから、あんたなりの策略なんだと私も最初は思ってた。でもなんだか違う気がするの。あんた勝てる試合をもてあそんでるんじゃなくて、勝っても負けてもどうでもいいって思ってるんじゃないの？
バカバカしい。そんなことあるわけもなかろうが。
いいこと。あんたの役目はベルンカステルを屈服、つまりゲームに永遠に勝者でいること。あなたが絶対の勝者であり続けようとする限り、私は絶対の魔女として。でももしあなたが自らの敗北の可能性を否定しないような話は変わるわよ。
もちろんわらわが勝てばベルンカステル教、向こうが勝てば常に敗北の可能性はあり、だからこそわらわは。
だからあんたは使えない。あんたはゲーム版である必要なんかない。ベルンカステルを永遠に ここに閉じ込める鳥かごでさえあればいいの。鳥かごの役目は中の小鳥を絶対に逃がさないことよ。たまに抜け出せてしまうような隙間のある鳥かごに何の価値が？
無論ゲームは勝つためのもの。そしてわらわが負けることはありえない。故にわらわは勝ち続けようぞ。お望み通り永遠に。
いい返事よ。それでいいわ。策略としての遊びやフェイクは許す。今回有効だったところもあるしね。でもね、もしあなたが勝ち以外を望むような指し手を、その時は素敵な覚悟をなさいよね。
そのようなことはせぬ。スカウト、
もともと魔女ですらないあんたがいつだって思い出させてあげるんだから。私の期待を裏切ったらその時は楽しい楽しい罰ゲームが待ってるわよ。100億のかけら世界の中から最も惨めなかけらにあんたを送り込んで封印してあげる。あんたはもともとが惨めだから惨めなかけらも実に選びがいがある
Huh.
わ。
Interesting.
ベアトリーチェの鳥かごでもはや逃れられないことを1000年かけて、そしてあなたが私の手のひらでしか泣けないようにたっぷりと仕込んであげるんだから。
Well, that was something. Okay. Well, I mean, that's the thing. When they first talked about Lambda Delta, before she even appeared, she talked about, you know, her being like this incredibly like brutal, vicious person. So, yeah, we hadn't really seen much of that till now, so it makes sense that they kind of flash a bit of that at us, just to remind us, like, hey, yeah. You may look at her as just kind of like this fucking goofball idiot, but also there's a bit more than that going on there. So that was interesting. And apparently she's connected to how Beatrice originally became a witch, which is interesting. Okay, we learned some things. Let's see what the question mark event brings us. "12 years later." Huh? 98. Interesting. That's, I wasn't expecting a time skip, alright. A monotonous electronic sound kept on repeating. The room was colored with hygienic tones, in other words, an emotionless white. It was a room at a certain university hospital. Neither her doctors nor the person herself had any doubts that this room, which had a price so high that no commoner could afford to spend a single night there, would be the last room she ever saw. Was the person on the bed Ava? Even if someone told you that was so, she was unbelievably aged and worn out. The well-built man in a suit, waiting in the corner near the door, was having a whispered conversation through an intercom with someone outside. He was a guard protecting Ava's person. After telling the person on the other end of the intercom to wait, he approached Ava's bed. Ava had been awake for a short while. However, she stared at a single point in an empty space, as though her mind was not in the same place.
エンジェさんが下のロビーに到着しました。
So it's NJ. Okay.
お通ししてよろしいですか?
For a long time, Ava didn't answer. However, bit by bit, her eyes began to regain their focus. She gave a small nod, indicating that she didn't mind if they called NJ. It had been Ava who called her. And she was right on time. By this point, Ava would refuse anyone who wanted a meeting without an appointment. The room was dark, even though it was still light outside, because the curtains were always closed. There was always one guard waiting in the room, and 3 more waiting in the corridor in the lobby. They were all there to protect Ava's person. Eventually, there was the sound of a knock. Also, there was a message from the intercom that the guest's body check had been completed with no problems. The door was unlocked, then opened. And a high school-aged girl was standing there.
会長、エンジェさんがいらっしゃいました。
Interesting. Ava reacted and turned her face towards the guest. However, instead of reacting to the guard's call, it would be better to say that she reacted to the smell of Angie's makeup. After being shut up in this room for so long, Ava was sensitive to even small changes in smell.
来たわね、エンジ。
来たわ。
Hot.
呼ばれたから。
On Ava's face, there was no trace of a person warmly welcoming their niece. And on Angie's face, you couldn't see the expression of one pleased to meet with their aunt. Ava waved her arm, which had grown as thin as a withered branch, and motioned for the guard to leave. The guard bowed silently and went out into the hall.
暗い上に空気もひどいわ。カーテンでも開けたら。
そうすると、あんたの依頼した殺し屋が窓越しに撃ってくるって寸法なのかしら。
あんたの暗殺依頼なら私が受けたいわ。家でのんびりほんの一月も過ごしてれば勝手。
Their discussion was quite morbid for an aunt and niece. However, they didn't look like they were joking. At the very least, Ava believed that someone was after her life. All the Ushiramiya family's massive fortune had come into the possession of Ushiramiya Ava. It was said that this fortune also included the 10 tons of hidden gold that Ushiramiya Kinzo was rumored to have hidden. While this vast wealth lay in Ava's cunning, sly, and suspicious hands, no one was able to complain. But it was rumored that as soon as it was passed on to Angie, who was no more than a young girl, certain people were plotting to snatch it away. By now, Ava and Angie were Kinzo's only descendants. If Ava died, all the wealth would go to Angie. And if Angie were then to be killed as well, that wealth would go to the family of Angie's mother, Kirie. In this sense, not only Ava, but Angie as well, were in a position where it wouldn't be odd at all for their life to be targeted by some unknown person. And Ava had hated Angie for a long time. This was because she knew that after losing her only precious son, George, the inheritor of her own wealth would be none other than the girl who had been absent at the family conference 12 years ago, who had survived. Ava shunned Angie, disliked her, and even hated her. She isolated Angie in a special school and separated her from the youth and happiness normal people have, trying to keep her as a pet until death. However, Ava had succumbed to an incurable illness, and ironically, her remaining life was estimated to be the same as Kinzo's had been at the family conference 12 years ago. Interesting. Both Ava and Angie hated each other. Understandable. Even though they were each other's last blood relatives, they hated each other so much they hoped the other would die quickly.
それでわざわざ呼びつけて何の用？
私はもう長くない。ヤブ医者どもは未だに私が盛られた毒が何かも分かってるの。きっと某国の諜報機関で使われてた。ああ、私は殺されるのよ。
Cool.
殺されるのよ。よかったわね。もうじき死ぬわよ。そうすれば。
かわいそうな人。
This always happened. They immediately deviated from the main topic, distorting it into a more unsettling discussion. Ava, who was absolutely paranoid, believed that someone was always after her life. And in actual fact, after inheriting the vast wealth of the Ushiramiya family, she had used wild methods just like Kinzo had done in the past, repeatedly making money by any means necessary and creating many enemies along the way. With a massive supply of capital, she had planned to aggressively buy businesses that were starting to have rapid growth, making them buy it back at a higher price under the guise of reconciliation. Ironically, it was the same type of action that her husband's company had been hit with 12 years ago. She had repeated this constantly for 12 years. She had also earned a lot of hatred. If her husband had heard of this from beyond the grave, he might have defended her, saying that the loneliness from losing her family fueled her actions. However, of all the people who knew her now, none would defend her. Damn right. For some time, Ava eloquently spoke of how her life was being targeted, listing off names of people who hated her, and sneering at the fact that she still hadn't been killed. Even though Angie had her own name included in that list, there was no particular change in her expression, and she waited indifferently for Ava to tire herself out.
私はね、憎いのよ。
光栄ね。私もよ。
ジョージのために築いた未来だった。それをあんたにかすめ取られるなんて。ルドルフの娘に奪われるなんて。私は悔しい。子も残せず。財産すらも奪われるなんて。
Whose fault is that?
それが私には許せない。
だったら財産全部お布施にでもしちゃ。500度踏んでた宗教系の連中はどうしたのよ。
連中はみんな多すぎる財産が私の負担になって決まって、だから預けて清める必要があるとか言い出すのよ。それで思いついたのよ。寄付はやめたわ。
For a time, Ava had searched for the founders of several strange and new religious cults, perhaps seeking peace in her heart. But they gave her heart no relief. And if anything, they ended up increasing her paranoia further.
お金が余ってるならサラブレッド買い占めてコンビーフでも作れば。
それよりもっと面白いことをいろいろ悩んだわ。どうやればあなたをひどい目に遭わせられるかをね。殺してしまおうとも思った。あるいは全ての財産を消し去り、あなたを無一文にして後ろ宮家から叩き出してやろうかとも思ったわ。素敵でしょ。お上品に育てられたご令嬢が腐ったパンや泥水を這いつくばって漁り回るのよ。
Remember at the beginning of episode 3 when I said I was starting to like Ava? We're definitely regressing here in terms of how much I like Ava. Yikes.
ああ、それも実に素敵だわ。
Jesus.
楽しい？
楽しいわ。あなたを怯えさせるのは。でももうじき私はだから。私が死んだ後もどうやってあなたを苦しませ続けるか考えたの。そうしたら案外単純なことだったわ。それをあなたに話したくて呼んだのよ。
そろそろ中間近いんだって身近にね。
すべての財産を相続することにした。
へえ。
それどころか私が死ぬ最後の一日までどこまでも財産を増やして膨れに膨らませてあなたに相続することにしたのよ。それがどういうことか想像がつくかし
ら。わかんないわ。バカだから。
そうよね。わかんないでしょうね。楽しみにしてなさいよ。本当に楽しいわよ。毎日日本中の妖怪が朝から晩まで遊びに来るわよ。あんたの私生活はこれからはすべてワイドショーと週刊誌が覗き見してくれるわ。何をしてもしなくてもマスコミは必ず私を批判する。施せばブルジョワだと叩かれ、渋れば主戦度だと罵られる。ああ、本当に素敵な毎日よ。そんな日々に若くて先の長いあなたをぜひ招待してあげよう。本当に素敵でしょ。
あんたのしてきたことに対する世間の正当な評価でしょ。
そうね、そうでしょうね。いいわ、好きなだけ私を罵るといいわ。そしてその評価をあなたが背負うのよ。製品が善人、金持ちは死ねというのが日本の文化。あんたはやがて何をしてもしなくても日本中から妬みと恨みの象徴に祭り上げられていく。そんな生活の中で生きていくあんたの味方は誰も、あんたの悩みなど誰も聞かない。あなたを罵ることは公然としたスポーツになる。そしてそれを誰も止めない。ああ、エンジェあんたはどんな人生を送ってどう終えるのかしら。世界中の誰も信用できず、誰も愛せず、誰とも語り合えない人生をたっぷり満喫しなさい。その苦労話を持って地獄へ落ちてくるのを
Her insane laughter turned into a painful cough. Without changing her expression in the slightest, looking completely unconcerned, Angie stared at the only survivor of Rokkenjima. Perhaps because he found the violent coughing suspicious, the guard gave a short knock on the door and rushed in at the same time. Angie glanced at him wordlessly, making it clear that she didn't intend to move a step from where she was. Angie was prepared for some kind of trap to frame her in Ava's death. However, that was fortunately a needless fear. As the guard rubbed Ava's back, he poured hot water from a thermos into a mug. As he did, Ava kept coughing, apparently in pain. Angie figured that this was probably the last she'd see of the Rokkenjima witch's final days. Eventually, the coughing subsided, and Ava regained her normal breathing. However, the glittering madness inside her eyes hadn't subsided in the slightest.
Soして黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェの名を今こそあなたに譲るわ。魔女の名にふさわしい狂って歪んだ生涯を楽しみなさい。
そんなのいらないわ。それより教えて、あの日六軒島で何があったの。事故があったなんて私は信じない。
Of course not.
あの日に何があったのか、父さんと母さんと兄さんがどうして死んだのか、本当のことを教えて。
ああ、それが一番の嫌がらせよね。あの日に何が1986年の今日なんて言葉を残して3人が教えないわよ。呪われた黄金はでもね、あんたが望む真相は私が地獄まで持っていくわ。それがあんたにできる一番の嫌がらせ。悔しい？聞きたければ地獄まで行ってあんたの家族に聞いてみるといい。なら今すぐ死なないとね。今すぐへそでも噛んで死んじゃえば。
That laugh continued until she started coughing again. And that cough did not subside until she started moaning and going into convulsions. October 4th, 1986. On Rokenjima, the Ushiramiya family's customary and final family conference was held. And on the next day, October 5th, an extremely unfortunate accident occurred and the Ushiramiya family was wiped out. Fortunately, Ushiramiya Eva escaped from that and inherited almost all the Ushiramiya family's fortune. However, due to the many turbulent rumors surrounding the Ushiramiya family, the way Eva acted afterwards, and her unnatural actions at the time of the unfortunate accident, the public was in an uproar over whether this might have been a conspiracy to get all the inheritance for herself, clearly. Under pressure from the public, prosecutors repeatedly tried to investigate the matter, and the media began tracing the outline of a conspiracy they called the Rokenjima suspicion. But in the end, they weren't even able to find proof that this unfortunate accident was a crime. However, because the media continued to give the impression that the Rokenjima suspicion was a conspiracy of Eva's, public opinion began to believe that she was the true culprit. Of course, that was also influenced by the bad impression caused by all that easily condemnable overbearing financial activity, which she had carried out using that vast wealth. Every time she did something and the rumor started spreading, the media would bring back the Rokenjima suspicion, blaming the criminal justice system by saying that she was the true culprit, and that the only reason she hadn't been arrested was because even the police had been bribed. I mean, if you have fucking, 10 fucking tons of gold or what the fuck ever, yeah, no, you could probably buy off a police force or two. So the impression that she was a great villain grew stronger and stronger. Her heart eventually degenerated, and ironically, it began to transfigure her into the kind of human that the public expected. By now, Eva had no one she could trust, and no family. After her beloved husband passed away, the talk shows occasionally mentioned his company, saying that it was run recklessly while criticizing and disgracing its former accomplishments. Even her beloved son, George, was dramatized as the stereotypical rich, lazy son that the public expected, and no one even wanted to know what a simple and honest character he had possessed. As to how much all this hurt Eva and ran her to ruin, no one cared. Well, then maybe she shouldn't have massacred her fucking family then. The public was only interested out of curiosity about how a super rich, evil woman who killed her whole family lived her pitiful later years. So that happened more and more. And eventually, Eva's personality was transfigured until people started calling her a lunatic. It was said that this sometimes reminded her of her father, whom she had once admired in his later years, and that she laughed at herself with scorn. And on the day of that final family conference, because Ushiramiya Rudolph's daughter, Angie, had been sick and had stayed with her mother's family, she had not participated. At the age of 6, she had lost her family and had gained Eva as her guardian. Yeesh. Since Angie had become Eva's only blood relative, Eva took very good care of her. She had imposing guards surrounding Angie's person at all times to prevent her from coming to harm. Angie had even her right to play with friends, to come home from school together and to enjoy the seasons together, stolen away. So that she can live a full and pleasant school life, Eva had sent Angie to an elegant boarding school that took care of her every need, completely isolating her from the world. She didn't even know the popular songs that girls her age might hum. She was never given a chance to enjoy window shopping with her friends or stuffing her mouth with crepes, much less an encounter with a member of the opposite sex to make her heart throb. Angie did not have a single friend. Aww. If anyone carelessly acted friendly with Angie, they would then be scolded by the guards or else the teachers. All of them were strictly ordered not to let shabby humans approach the daughter of the esteemed Ushiramiya family. During that time, the talk shows were always mentioning Ushiramiya Eva, always spreading rumors about her countless financial misdeeds. Those who knew her daughter naturally began to keep their distance. Who her daughter was, there we go. Even now, she was called a witch at school, and anytime something bad happened, even if there was no proof, it would be whispered as though it were the absolute truth that she had imposed her will on the school staff. The environment makes the person. By now, she had a heart as wild as those around her feared. No one trusted her, so she never bothered to believe in anyone. No one loved her, so she never even tried to love. And when Eva caught an incurable illness on top of all this, it was whispered that this too was a conspiracy, and this time, Angie was set up as the mastermind. Everyone whispered that the daughters of witches are witches too. Even the talk shows and the weekly magazines whispered that. So Angie also accepted it as though it was definitely... No. as though it was obviously true. Therefore, since she already believed that she was a witch, when she heard that the name of the Golden Witch was being turned over to her, she only felt like saying, "You just figured that out now." However, she was at least sure of one thing. This title of witch that she had inherited would definitely never be inherited by anyone else. She would be the last head of the Shirome family, and the last lonely Golden Witch. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Angie could be seen on the roof of a skyscraper. Compared to the winds of the world that had been beaten down upon her until now, this strong, cold wind was warm and pleasant. Below her lay a beautiful nighttime scene and a dazzling river of red and white lights. It was supposed to be clear out that night, so there really should have been countless stars stretching out over the sky. However, the light from the ground was too bright, so you couldn't see them at all. And you couldn't help but think that what she truly sought must lie in that unseen starlight. The world of reality below her looked so far away from here. She could imagine that this place was the closest to the world she should really be in. There was only one thing that Angie cursed. Why had she not been able to go to that family conference on that day 12 years ago? Even though if she had gone, it'd probably have been possible for her to stay with her family forever. Lately, she'd been dreaming about her family over and over again. The person I was 12 years ago calls out frantically, urging them to not go to the family conference. But both Dad and Mom are too far away. My hand won't reach them. Battler Nissan always loved me a lot. He'd always pat my head. But even though it looks like that hand's about to touch me, even it does not reach. For some reason, I started having that dream over and over. Every time I had that same dream, I uselessly tried to stretch out my hand even more forcefully over and over and over. Even if only Battler Nissan had lived, then perhaps we'd at least be able to support each other in my cold and lonely reality. But his hand never reaches me. Even if I climb to the roof of this tall building, I'm so far away from all of them. A mysterious girl appears in my dreams and urges me. She urges me to find the truth of what happened 12 years ago.
父さんたちにあの日何があったのかを知ることができたなら帰ってきてくれるの。せめて誰かが。
There was no way that anyone would answer that question for her. I get it. In this world I have no family or friends. So, let's go. Let's go home. To where my family is. Don't like the way you're talking. From the start, Angie's figure had been on the outer side of the fence. Uh-oh. The scenery below her eyes was distant, beautiful, and so fantastical that it actually didn't give rise to fear. If I look down, I'll surely be swallowed up by the world below. So I looked up, because I wanted to be taken to the world above, the world where my family was. Who cares about vast wealth? Who cares about cursed gold? Who cares about the Golden Witch, Beatrice? What I really want, even a mountain of gold couldn't get me. What I need for that, just to take a single step forward, just that little bit of courage. At that moment, I definitely heard a voice. It was a voice I knew. A voice that had called to me in my dreams for so long. Before my eyes, in other words, in midair above that jet black nighttime scenery, there was the figure of the girl I had seen in my dreams. She spoke again with the same voice I'd heard in those dreams.
あなたの助けが必要なの。私の助け？誰が？あなたの家族がよ。あなたの家族は永遠に12年前の今日から明日に閉じ込められているわ。それを救えば私の家族は帰ってくるの？
When I asked the question I had most wanted to, the girl cruelly stopped talking and hung her head.
それは約束できないわ。敵は黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。強大な相手よ。私に太刀打ち。でも同じ黄金の魔女ならなんとかなるかもしれない。
Interesting.
何の話かわからないわ。
1986年のベアトリーチェに太刀打ちで
Is
き
the
る。
Beatrice of 98?
1998
Oh,
年
yeah.
最後の、つまりあなたにエンジェベアトリーチ
12年前の魔女が私の家族を奪ったの。
ェ。そう、あなたの仇にあ
私の家族の仇。
見返りにあなたの望む最も理想的な世界。でも必ず希望が叶うと約束はできない。1986年のベアトリーチェのゲーム版は今日の手土産にその理想のかけらを持参しようとしたんだけれど、かなりの強固な運命にラムダデルタと戦った時以来の。
何を言ってるのかわからない。
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is Angie really just hearing all of this and be like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, alright. And I was just like, wait, what the fuck are you even going on about?
あなたに復讐のチャンスを。見返りにあなたが享受できる可能性の中で最も幸せな結末を探して持ってくることを約束するわ。復讐徒労になるかもしれない。仮に復讐を成し遂げられたとしても奇跡的確率でせいぜい一人を連れ戻せるかどうかよ。
Angie understood the meaning of that dream. The dream where it seemed that with just a little more stretching, her hand might be able to reach at least Battler Nissan.
奇跡的な確率でもそれはゼロよりは高いのよね。 1% くらい。
あらゆる可能性の数値はだからその数字を。
でも私が何もしないよりは絶対にわずかの可能性がある。
あなたが希望を捨てない限り、ただし覚悟して、それは限りなくゼロ
It is very close to zero.
いいわ、乗るわその話。
いいのね。多分もう二度とここへは帰ってこれないわよ。
ここは私のいるべき世界じゃないわ。そして私のいるべき世界はあなたの名前を聞かせて。
奇跡の魔女ベルンカステ。そしてあなた黄金の魔女エンジェベアトリーチェだと今こそあなたは本当の魔女。
Oh ho. The instant she proclaimed that I was a witch, I felt dizzy, as though something inside my head had changed drastically. At that time, I heard a clunk. It was the sound of the door that opened to the staircase to the roof. It was Aunt Ava's guards. Oh! Yeah, let's go! Feeling this music. They're only guards in name. Aren't they the cage that wraps the tightest... Aren't they the cage that wraps the tightest around me, shutting me in? They saw that I was already on the other side of the fence and dashed forward, horrified.
20マルタイ発見。屋上応援求む。エンジェさん探しましたよ。そこは危ないですから早くこちらへ。
何あれ
ファンクラブよ。私結構モテるの。
捕まる必要はないわ。行きましょう。
Looking annoyed, Burncastle turned on her heels. In the jet black sky. Watching that perfectly casual gesture, I followed her as though it was completely normal.
エンジェさん待ちなさい。早まるな。危ない。
ああ、ダメね。全然ダメ。
I see that's a genetic phrase.
じゃあまたね。See you again。迎えにはリムジンをよこしてちょうだい。みんなも一緒だから。じゃあね。
エンジェさん
Interesting. Okay. So that explains Angie's sudden entrance at the end of 3. Yeah, but like I figured, that really didn't change my opinion on the episode as a whole. I'm still not a fan of episode 3. It was interesting getting that clarification on Angie's involvement, which was nice, but overall I'm still not that impressed with it. But that wraps it up for episode 3. In the next recording session, not our next recording session, fuck, I'm only an hour into this one. In the next video, however, I'll be starting on episode 4, the final episode of the question arcs. But for now, I will end this video here. So it's not going to be a quick jump cut. It's absolutely going to be another video, and hopefully I'll see y'all in the next one. But until then, peace.